Hey friends, it's Sammy, and this is my A Quarter Missing Theory discussion slash rave slash book talk slash I'm hoping that my reaction video will be up before this. That link will also be up in the tabs, so if you haven't seen that, you should also check that out because it's wild, guys. It's a little too much for even me to rewatch. Don't be afraid of the length. It's worth it. It's very worth it. So we are going to discuss this in a way that is hopefully interesting enough. Let's just discuss. Okay, so this book starts off a couple months after the end of ACOTAR. So we are in the spring court. We are with Farah and Tamlin and Lucian and a new character, Ianthe? Ianthe, I think that's how you pronounce it. So it turns out she is married. Well, she's about to get married. She's engaged. And I'm like, okay, I mean, alright. She's talking to this Ianthe girl, and she gave me bad vibes from the very beginning. Let me tell you, I was like, no. Like, she was talking about how all the other priestesses are like bad and like she's the only good one. I'm like, if all the other priestesses don't like you, there's a reason for that. Like, there's a reason that they don't like you. Ianthe's like putting her up in this big poofy dress that like is not her aesthetic, and she's like, I just don't want to put up a fight. And I'm like, girl, you literally put up a fight the whole last book for who you love, and now you're just gonna give up for what you love? Like, this is stupid. Like, I was ready for her to have a new space. Like, I was so stressed out this whole entire time reading this book. You can check out my Twitter reaction. I'll link that down below too. Just get her out of there. So she is about to walk down the aisle in her poofy ass dress, and Ianthe, her bitch ass, puts a bunch of red rose petals all over when she knows she does not want anything red because it reminds her of blood, it reminds her of killing the fairies. And you know what she does? She just puts them all over, and of course she starts having a she starts freaking out because she's just flashing back. She doesn't know if she wants to actually marry Tamlin. She's like, I can't do this right now, and she's asking somebody for help, and Rhys shows up and he's like, we're getting you out of here. Like, I was like, yes, please. But then again, now I'm thinking back at it, and I saw some like Tumblr posts, Ianthe is the whole reason this whole entire book happened. Like, if she would not have put those red rose petals, she would have married Tamlin, and like, what would have happened? Like, would Rhys have still like because I bet even if she did marry him, she still probably would have been locked up later, and he still probably would have saved her from that. But like, I think things would be a lot different because he literally would have stole a bride. Like, she goes back, she's still not having it. Like, she's being all sassy to him, but she can't even talk back to Tamlin. I'm like, girl, he's trying to help you, whatever. So he starts teaching her how to read and write, and I'm like, oh, bless you. And I'm just like, Tamlin, I don't understand. Like, I understand you're going through things too, but this is straight ridiculous. Don't even get me started on Lucian, because I know he was one of my favorite characters in the last book, but in the beginning of this, I was just like, you can see her getting skinnier, you can see her looking sick and having these big bags under her eyes and just looking like crap, and you do nothing. Like, he's loyal as anything to Tamlin, but he cannot help Farah when she looks like this and when she's so sick, and he... Needless to say, I was very irritated at the beginning of this novel. So then, the big thing happens, and Mor comes in, she takes her, they break the shield, and they take her back to the Night Court. First, let me say, I loved the Night Court. Like, the Night Court just sounded so beautiful. It made me so happy when she was in there. So she was finally there, and she was like, I don't think I can go back, and he's like, you can stay here for as long as you want. And then she's like, I'm not going back. Like, I can't go back. And he's like, alright, well, if you're not going back, then I'm gonna, like, basically, you can come meet my friends. Guys, I literally loved all of them. Like, yes, like, they were minor characters, but like, my favorite personally, I think, was Amryn, because just everything about her was just like so intriguing and so interesting, and I love her aesthetic, and I just love, oh my god. And then Cassian and Azriel were so, like, Cassian was so funny, Azriel was so mysterious, but like so beautiful, and like a shadow singer, like, that just was like, spoke to me. Like, oh. They start training Farah so that she can realize her powers, because obviously she is part of all of the 7 courts, and she has like a part of all of the High Lord's powers, and is okay. So let's just talk about some scenes right now. One of the first things they did together was to test out that she could actually track people's possessions. They took her to the Weaver, and the Weaver is apparently this big deadly thing, and Rhys was like, you got this, girl, like, you got this. And I was like, yes, she does, you go. Rhysand is like, okay, so I have something in there, mine, like, you need to go find it. Good luck out there, kid. Go. I believe in you. And she gets in there and she's creeping around and she finds his possession and it's a ring. And I was like, yes. Yes. Not only was it a ring, it was his mother's ring. And then later we find out that she gave it to the weaver so that one day that his future wife can go find it, and if she gets it without like dying, she is worthy of Reese. And I was like, I can't. This is too beautiful. So I really enjoyed their whole mind reading thing together. Like, they could speak to each other through the minds, or he could go into her mind. It was so beautiful. Like, when she first met Amram, she didn't feel any fear, but she thought it might be a mercy to be ended, and Reese cuts her off when she's having that thought and was like, don't you ever think that, don't you think that for a damn second. And I was like, I've never loved a set of characters so much as I loved. Like, they're all so complex, and they're also, like, different and beautiful, and, like, oh, let's talk about how Ianthe tried to sleep with Rhysand for, like, power or whatever the hell. She's, like, a whack-ass bitch. Like, I can't with her. Like, there's this whole scene in here with her, like, naked as hell, trying to seduce Rhys, and I'm like, this bitch. No. Most certainly not. You cannot, like, this is not how you gain power. You do not know. No, no, no. Alright. So then we go to the mortal realm. Like, I really enjoy being back there because I like catching up with the characters and seeing where they're at and stuff. So we go back there and Nesta's still feisty as hell, but like at this point I'm kind of over it. Like, I hope they eventually, like, her and Elaine eventually like apologize to Farrah for being shit-ass sisters, but like, what are you gonna do? So when they're out on their date, she hears the music, and it's similar to, it's like almost exactly or very similar to the music that she heard in the cell when she was at Armantha's under the mountain. And it turns out that he sent her that music and she wasn't just having a delusion. Like, she was feeling so down. She was contemplating like whether she even wanted to live anymore, and he was like, you have to live. And it turns out like he knew she was his mate all this time, and he just wanted her to be alive and happy, and I'm gonna cry again. Like, oh my god. So he sent her that, but he didn't even send her the images of Valeris. But like when she was under there, like I looked back and she was like getting these images of Valeris, and of like just above the mount, like above his mountain, his little like gossamer like curtain like pillar place. And he in that like quote, like I'll insert a picture here because I screenshot it and put it on, or I took a picture of it and put it on Twitter. It says in this, like when she was under the mountain, it says, I was in the pillar or whatever, but it said that the one she loved was there, and I was like, she literally knew Rhysand was gonna be her love. I can't, like, how did she not know that they were mates? Like, he literally adored her. Like, they're at the summer court. Rhys is flirting with that girl, and she's flirting with the High Lord, and everyone's flirting so they can find this half of this book. And she's like testing him. She's all mad that he's flirting, but she's literally doing the same thing. She said that she could be happy with Tarquin, and I was like, how disrespectful. You could be happy with Rhys too. Like, boy, like, whatever. So she's talking about that, and she's all mad that he's flirting with the pretty girl or whatever. And she's like, what would you do if I fucked him for the book? And I was like, boy, why do you have to do this? Why can't you just be nice? Obviously they get the book. Her and Amren are kick-ass, and they go in the book and they almost drown, and then those stupid sea rats come and save them, and they lay on the ground and they start laughing, and I'm like, I love you, Amren. Like, yes. Okay, so then we have when he has the nightmare and his darkness is like terribly dark, and it's like the bad kind of darkness. So then it starts leaking into her room, and she's like, oh my god, I need it. Like, she needs to go find him, and he's having a bad dream, he's having a nightmare, and she starts shaking him, and he waking him up, and he's still like all kinds of messed up. And then she starts using her soothing darkness to make him okay. And I'm like, this is literally beautiful. They are both so powerful. Like, I love when powerful people get together. I'm like, yes, like, you guys deserve each other. You both are like bomb as hell. Like, you're so powerful. You deserve each other. She's like comforting him, and he just had his nightmare, and she's like, yes, I'm here, it's me, it's Farrah, it's blah blah blah. Also, she had a nightmare sometime. I don't know when it was, really. But she had a nightmare, and she was screaming and he woke her up and he was like, Farrah, Farrah, and she was like, the bed was all kinds of messed up, and she ran into the bathroom and she started throwing up and he held her hair back, and I was like, Tamlin would have just ignored her, and I'm just like, bless you. Like, it's so sad. Like, there's a part in this book where she was like, she was giving credit, she was like, I can't keep giving Rhys credit for not being like Tamlin, because what Rhys is doing for me is something that I deserve. Like, Rhys is doing like what a good person would do. He's not anything like super spectacular, but he is like, well, he is like, he's beautiful, but like what Tamlin was doing was terrible. And like, now that she's actually being treated right, she's giving him like bonus points, and that's like not what she wanted to do. And I was like, yes, like, okay. So now they're at the Court of Nightmares. Let me talk about this for a second. She was like, I'm so ready to play this part, and they're going down to the Court of Nightmares, and I'm like, what part? Like, what? Like, what? Like, what part? So, we quickly find out what part she is playing. She is playing his whore, which at first I was like, maybe this is, but like, I know some people might think like, oh, that's like super demeaning. Like, Rhys had to deal with that for like 50 years under the court, and now we're just gonna like take him back to that, but like, she was more than willing to do it, and she was good at, like, they were good as hell. Like, so that happened, and then she goes to walk out, and Kier, whatever the hell his name is like, you'll get what's coming to you, whore, and Rhys was like, nope, and he took out, like, he broke bones, he was not having it. He's like, I'll kill anyone who harms you, and I'm like, but then she's talking to him, and she's like, perhaps I don't know what I want, but I don't hide about in a mask. At least I let people see who I am, broken bits and all. Yes, it's to save your people. What about the other mask, Rhys? What about letting your friends see your real face? But maybe it's easier not to, because what if you did let someone in? And what if they saw everything and still walked away? Who could blame them? Who would want to bother with that sort of mess? Bitch, do not call. And then they go to the Iranian camp, and he's fighting for the girls to be able to fight and be warriors, and I'm like, yeah, you go. So they're there, and then he takes her out to train her at places or whatever, and when she's out training, she runs into Lucien. Well, not really runs into Lucien. Lucien's tracking her, and I was like, no. So he runs into her, and he was like, oh my god, Tamlin's not been well, you need to come back. He's not well, he needs you back. You need to come back with us, like, come back. And he was like getting closer to her. He was like, you need to come back. Like, he was about to grab her and winnow her back, and I was like, no. She was like, Lucien, you were my friend and you gave up on me. You saw what was happening, you saw what he was doing to me, and you didn't care. And I was like, yes. Yes. And then she was, one of my other favorite quotes is she says to him, when you spend so long trapped in darkness, Lucien, you find the darkness begins to stare back. And she showed her wings, and I was like, oh my god, she has wings. And then we come to the end scene, and I'm like, there's an end scene? And I was like, this is chapter 48. Why is there an end scene? Like, inns, or like hostels, or bed and breakfast, like any of those scenes, you know something's happening, you know something's gonna go down. And I was like, what is this end scene? Like, I've never heard of this, like, what is this? And then when she goes up and there's only one bed, I'm like, what is this? What is this? They're doing that whole thought for a thought game, and he's like, I'm thinking that when I look at you, I feel like I'm dying, like I can't breathe. I'm thinking that I want you so badly, I can't concentrate half the time around you, and this room is too small for me properly to bed you, especially with my wings. And I'm like, what is this? What is about to happen? Then she tells him, I can't stop thinking about you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my god, what is about to happen? And then she's like, we should go to sleep. And I'm like, really? Like, this is the end? And I'm like, I mean, okay, whatever. And then, like, they all get all cozied up, and she was shaking. And then this bitch is all up on his wing. And I was like, no, you can't do this. Like, he literally told you his wing is sensitive, and then she's all up on his wing, like, getting all up on it, and I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? To quote him, didn't anyone ever teach you manners? Like, escalates very quickly, like, very quickly. And this lasted for longer than I expected it to, too. I was like, if this is what this is, what is chapter 55? So blah blah blah, they keep going this thing, and then the unmentionable happens at the end of the scene. The thing that he had been waiting to do since the Court of Nightmares. You know what I'm talking about. I can't say it because it physically pains me to say it. Like you know what I'm talking about. Then they go back out. He almost dies, of course, because he's shot with some arrows. He's tied up to this magical chain. It's a mess. It's a damn mess. And she saves him because she's badass. So she hunts out the Suriel and she's like, I need to know, he's like dying, I need help. And Suriel is just like nonchalantly like, okay, you need to do this, blah blah blah. She's like going on and on. It's like, if you wish to speed your mate's healing in addition to your blood, a pink flowered weed sprout by the river, make him chew it. And she's like, wait, mate? Mate? Excuse, what? And she's like, oh, you didn't know. That happens, and then she's all pissed off at him. So then they go back to the uranium camp, and she leaves them in the mud. She goes off to the little house. And when she gets to the little house, she starts painting again, and everything's beautiful, and everything's right. So then he shows up at the house. Chapter 55. You guys know what's up. My feels were too real. Like, actually, it was chapter 54. My feels were too real in chapter 54, and then chapter 55, I was still not over chapter 54, so I was like, I couldn't even be shocked. I was just so happy. Like, I was like, this is beautiful. She offered him food, and he was like, you're offering me food? And I was like, and then he goes on and on about how it's an important moment when a female offers it food. It means she accepts the bond, and I was like, where's the punchline? Is this a joke? Is Reese making a funny joke right now? And no. Nope. So they're in the cabin, and he starts she's like, tell me a story while I cook for you. And he's like, alright, I'm gonna tell you a story. And she tells him his life story. Basically, a while back she told him how Tamlin's family is who killed his family, and that they took his mother and sister's wing and hung it up on a wall. And I was like, no. What got me was, he's like, and then 3 years ago. And I'm like, 3 years ago? You were into the mountain 3 years ago. What could have been like so detrimental that happened 3 years ago? And he's like, 3 years ago, I started having dreams. And I'm like, what? What kind of dreams? What? It was a flash here and a flash there every couple months. Like a fireplace or hay or a bunch of rabbits. And he was like, it was really foggy and I just didn't know. And then he said he saw a hand painting and painting flowers on the table, and I was like, excuse you? What? Once she came through into Prithian, he became clear, he started seeing more, and he was like, I gotta find her. So he's like, Armantha, I'm gonna go to Calumet in the Spring Court, I'm gonna bring back some traders, but really he was going there to find her, and he finds her, obviously he finds her, and it's, oh, he's like, I've been looking for you, thank you for finding her for me. And I was like, he was literally looking for, and then the trials came and he was just trying to protect her. And then she started torturing, like if you go back in this book, I didn't even realize it because I was just so caught up in the moment. He is screaming her name throughout when she is dying. He is screaming her name, and I can't, like, he's talking about, he says, but then she snapped her neck, and then he's crying, and she's crying, and he says, I felt you die, and they're crying, everyone's crying, and he's like, this beautiful, wonderful thing had come into my life, a gift from the cauldron, it was gone, in my desperation I clung to that bond, that's the bargain was nothing, the bargain was like a cobweb, but I grabbed that bond between us and I tugged, I willing to hold on. So like, what I didn't realize, and what I'm still trying to figure out is like, their bond is there because of the bargain, but they have a mating bond, and that is like the main thing that is there. So like the reason they can talk to each other so well is because of the mating bond and not really like the bargain bond, if that makes any sense. So like he convinced all the High Lords to save her, and I was just no good. Like he finally tells her that he loves her, and she's like, you love me, and then she's like, eat, and then she accepts the bond, and they do some pretty crazy crap in chapter 55, and everything is beautiful. Like I don't even, so then the queen Rats like is like, I can't do this, like I saw your letters, and she gives them the other half of the book But then after they'd already showed them Valeris, and then they attack Valeris, and everything's a mess, and then they go to Highburn. And I was just really nervous this whole time because I knew people had cried at the end of this book, and I was like, oh my god, who is gonna die? And I was just no good. Like, I didn't know what was gonna happen. So we get to Highburn. She goes in there and she's trying to mess with the cauldron. She's trying to nullify it or whatever, and she puts the books together, and I still don't understand all this part. So apparently there was a trap or something, and Julian shows up, or Jurian, and then the king basically catches them, and all their powers are nullified, and they're going and they're sitting before. But then Lucien and Tamlin show up, and I'm like, bruh. And I was still like, okay, I mean, guys, like, maybe they captured them too, but like, no. Then I was like, no, they literally walked in free will. So it turns out Tamlin made this deal with the devil, and he was like, okay, I'll give you all this stuff if basically if I can just have Farah back. Like, Farah's mine. Like, I need Farah back. What the hell was Lucien thinking? I'm so pissed at Lucien. Like, he better redeem himself. Apparently Sarah J. Maas is gonna redeem Tamlin too. Like, he's gonna have a full character arc, and I'm like, no. Please just kill him off. Like, I don't care about him. Like, just kill him. Like, the queens are like, I want to be immortal, so they put Nesta and Elaine in the cauldron, and they're fine, which was weird because it was like, people die in this, and like, whatever. So they go in the cauldron, and they both come out fine, and then Lucien scoops up on Elaine. He's like, she's my mate, and I'm like, why? And Azriel are all messed up, and I'm like, oh my, that's really stresses me out, because if Cassian can't fly at the end, like, if he loses his wings, like, he's what got me, and if you saw my discussion video, or if you saw my reaction video, you saw me, I was bawling. Okay, so she puts out this big bright light, and she breaks down the shield that's around the castle, and she's like, Tamlin, I'm broken free from Rhys's bond. I've broken free. He trapped me. He made me his mate. I was held captive. Blah 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 blah. Tamlin, I love you. Come back. And I was like, what? Like, I knew she was playing a part, but like it said that very clearly. But then she was like, I need to be free. I need to be free. And she's like, King Highburn. What is his name? And she's like, break the bond. Break the bond. And I'm like, break the bond? Boy, what? And she's like, break the bond. I don't want him to be near him anymore. She's like, break the bond. And the king is like, if you wish. And I'm like, no. I was freaking out. She was like, do it. And Rhys is like, no. And then a crack sounded in my ears, and the world cleaved in two, and as the bond snapped. And I was bawling, guys. I was done. I was like, everyone's freaking out. Moore's freaking out. Azriel and Cassian are freaking out. Everyone's like, what the hell just happened? Rhys still gets out the sisters, and everything's great. And then there's Rhys-Anne's POV, and I'm like, what? What is this? What is this? But this does give me hope that it's going to be like a dual perspective next novel, and I'm up for that, as long as it's not like Allegiant dual perspective, because no, I will not be okay with that whatsoever. If anybody, even if she kills off either of them, I will not forgive her. I will be pissed. No. Because one of my biggest worries about this book is Farah will die, or being like a badass or whatever, but I can't deal with her dying. I can't deal with Rhys dying. This is beside the point. Rhys's chapter shows up, and they go back to Valeris, and Amren's like, where is she? And this made me really feel for Amren. I was like, yeah, like she actually really cared about Farah, and I was like, oh, this is so nice. And then Moore says she asked the king to break the bond, and he obliged, and then Amren's like, that's impossible, that sort of bond can't be broken, and Moore's like, the king said he could do it, and Amren says the king is the fool, that bond cannot be broken, and then Rhys finally speaks, and he's like, no, it can't. And I was like, what? We find out that the bond wasn't actually broken. Their like bargain bond was broken, and that they actually got like married or whatever, and she's now High Lady of the Night Court. What? What the hell? What? I was freaking out. I was so happy, but I was also freaking out. I was like, what the hell? What is going on? Lucian's very, very, suspicious. I'm sure something will happen with that. And I finished the book, and I still haven't read any books. I'm in a major book hangover. I'm very stressed out about this last book. I don't want anybody to die. I really can't deal with that. And then after this book, there's going to be 3 more books, and they could be a continuation, but like, I hope they're not. Like, I hope they're just these same 3 novels in Reese's perspective, or they're spin-off novels. I can't deal with the continuation because I can't deal with people dying. Like, I can't express to you enough how much it stresses me out thinking about this next book and thinking about people dying, especially when Sarah J. Maas is apparently known for killing off main characters and known for sinking ships. I think I could deal with them both dying, if that makes any sense, because then they're both dead. Like, I love them as characters, but what really pains me to think about is them without each other. Like, Reese without Farah mainly is what, like, really pains me. I love this book so much. I'm so nervous for the next book. I hope you enjoyed this discussion video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye!